I took one player from rank gold all the way to SSL and asked them to record 3 things: a rank 2v2 match, a run of this Speed Trials workshop map, and an attempt at the shots you shouldn't miss training pack. Then I watched over all the footage and compared all the ranks to find out where each rank differs and what they could do to get to the next rank up. Let's first start off with the workshop map. The Speed Trials workshop map is designed to have you fly your way around as fast as you can, using as little or as much air roll as you want. It challenges you to quickly maneuver your car around obstacles while changing height and speeds. Beginning with gold and plat, you can see that as they make their way around the course that they are both very unsure of their aerial ability as a whole. Both players seem to be only able to do one thing at a time, as in they can either boost or turn their car, but they aren't yet comfortable doing both at the same time. I would say it seemed like the plat player did use their air rolls slightly better to readjust themselves, whereas the gold player didn't use air roll too much at all. And when they did, it was used in a way that didn't really benefit them, and so was being used for the sake of just being used. Yet, the most significant thing I noticed when watching these two players was the fact that they both feathered their boost at the wrong time. They both used feathering to try and gain height and speed. This would have been achieved by holding down boost, but by feathering instead, they got stuck not really being able to move. Comparing this to our next tier of rankings being Diamond and Champ. Now the Diamond player shows that they are much better at being able to determine how much speed and boost is needed throughout the course, and they don't find themselves hovering and slowing down as much. However, this player was still air rolling for no real reason, and at times it seemed to be doing them more harm than good. It also seemed like they're not comfortable boosting and air rolling at the same time. These are flaws shared amongst gold, plat, and diamond players. Until we reach our champion player, whose movement is very controlled. They air roll only when they need to, and they have smooth movements throughout. So from this, we can see the aerial abilities of players all the way up to diamond can still have massive room for improvement. There's a lot of work needed when it comes to understanding air roll and actually controlling your car in the air. Now, this isn't new information, and I'm sure this was expected by a lot of you, but now that you have a side-by-side comparison of the actual difference between some of these ranks, you can see just how different they are. While they all need to work on the same things, there's a long way to go between gold aerial control and diamond aerial control. Understanding and learning just how to control your car in the air and how to move your car using air roll is a skill each of these ranks will need to work on. The next step, however, is purely speed and a little bit more aerial control as shown by these higher ranked players. Grand Champ and SSL are both expected to have good control of their car in the air. And they do. The step up from Champ to Grand Champ is about getting faster, more confident, and having better control over air rolling. There's not too much more to work on from here. You just need to hone in on what you know and really work to get better at it. As many of you already know, consistency is key. Then, for that final step from Grand Champ up to SSL, it's the same again. There's nothing else to really learn from here. You just need to work to improve what you already know. The struggle of the low ranks is knowing what you need to do but not being able to do it. The struggle of the high ranks is being able to do what you need to do, but not being able to do it good enough to do it to the highest standard. And then, I'm sure the absolute highest rank from SSL to the pro level, it's the same again. It's yet another unreachable standard. So, few lower ranks, really work on your aerial control and basic aerial control up until around the champ level. By then, you should be comfortable with both of these to a certain extent. From then on, it's all about refining and grinding out what you know to take your game to the next level. With the aerial section concluded, we move on to the training pack section, which mainly focuses on the other big aspect of this game, shooting and ground movement. This section will be fairly quick as it's a bit more straightforward than aerials. Starting once again with our lower ranks, the gold player scores the first goal in 9 attempts, and it was more of a dribble than a shot, whereas the platinum player only took 5 attempts. I noticed both players were not really comfortable shooting and would instead prefer to catch the ball and try to dribble. Now, while this can be a good thing at times in a match, the goal of the training pack is to teach you to shoot from different angles. Granted, I didn't make this clear to the players before I asked them to attempt this, and so I'm not going to hold it against them, and I'll instead try to work with it. Both players in their dribbling attempts seemed to struggle a tad to control the ball on top of their car and looked as if they lacked control with the finish of these dribbles. They both seemed to be quite hesitant going up into the air and wouldn't line themselves up before aerialing. And if they did go for an aerial shot, they wouldn't be able to readjust themselves in time because, like previously mentioned, there is a lack of aerial control. It also seemed as if the majority of the goals that were scored were from shots that were quite lucky. Now, that might all sound a bit harsh to you, but if you look at the next tier of ranks, you can see quite a difference. The diamond player took 3 attempts in the first shot, and the champ player took 4. Both players seem to struggle a bit with their air roll shots, with the diamond player air rolling the wrong way to get power from their shots, and the champion player seemed to just be a little bit off every now and then. The Diamond player, like the 2 ranks below them, still seemed to lack power in their shots, but the Champ player had a bit more power consistently. This is one of the biggest things lower players should be working on. Not only shooting accurately, but also being able to hit the ball with power as often as they can. It normally gets overlooked because some slow shots can get scored in lower ranks, but drilling power shots over and over again is a really easy way to improve every single aspect of your ground game in these lower ranks. Now, let's compare these players to the Grand Champ and SSL players. Both hit their first shot in their first attempt, and the SSL player actually made the shot harder for themselves. Both players are much more accurate and powerful with each of their shots. The Grand Champ player doesn't over air roll at all, and the SSL player has no time wasted and the movement is clean throughout. From watching these players, you should easily be able to tell the key differences and what you need to work on if you're in these lower ranks. Focus time on getting power behind each of your hits and learn to shoot without having to rely on the easy option of dribbling. For you mid-range players, your biggest challenge is learning how to air roll to get more power and better accuracy, and how to get more consistent with your shooting so that you're going from a 50-50 to more of a 75% of the time. And then trying to work up even more from there. For you Grand Champ players looking to make that next step up, it's all consistency as always. The more time you spend shooting and putting yourselves in uncomfortable situations, the more comfortable you become and the easier the shots get. And for you SSL players looking to make it to that pro level, well, you already know by now, consistency and power from every angle. Lastly, we are onto the rank section where we tie everything in all together with game sense. Once again, let's kick things off with the lower ranks. Speaking of kickoffs, neither player flip on the kickoff, which I find very strange because of just how impactful a good kickoff can be. There is also a lack of control in the air from both players, but this has already been established in the previous sections. Another big thing that caught my eye is the lack of trust in your teammates. And I understand you don't trust your teammates because people can miss some really easy shots in these ranks, but there are 2 moments in about a minute of playtime where both of you are in the same spot because you jump in on your teammate. Your teammate then calls you out and says, "Stop ball chasing." For both players, the plays look a little bit aimless. There looks as if there's a dependency on boost, or rather it looks like you think you need boost in order to do well, as you don't really do anything in the game unless you have 100 boost or you're going for 100 boost. What I did find interesting is that despite trying to dribble a lot of the shots in the training pack, the dribbling in-game needed a lot of work, and everyone on the pitch had a lack of power in their touches. Now once again, that might seem very harsh, but if everything gets sugar-coated, then people tend to look over mistakes and brush them off and then never learn from them. As a lower ranked player, the best and easiest way to rank up is to just get a good understanding of the basics of the game. But if you want 3 things to work on specifically, I would say work on the basics of aerial control so that you can hit the ball in the air, work on powerful touches so you can hit the ball on the ground with power, and work on recoveries, as throughout both of these games, it seems as if you're losing a lot of boost and time due to bad recoveries. Now, let's compare these 2 games to those of the Diamond and Champ players. To my genuine surprise, even all the way up to Champ, neither of these players are flipping on kickoff. But immediately, you can see a difference in the speed of play, and this will normally come down to better usage of boost, recoveries, and smarter positioning. Both players are giving space to their teammates and playing in their own area, and both are confident challenging in the air and using the walls to challenge. Even these little things can make such a big difference and can really step you up a level if you learn these at a lower rank. However, these players also make some very common mistakes throughout their game. The Diamond player hits the ball away instead of controlling it the majority of the time, and a lot of the time they seem to be side flipping, which doesn't really give you any momentum. It also looks as if they are air rolling into everything, including challenges, which might throw them off from time to time and make them less accurate. The Champ player actually played a really good game. They had good recoveries, they were more precise with their aerials and touches in the air, and they showed a perfect example of just why lower ranked players need to learn how to dribble and just how important it can be. However, one of the biggest things to pick up on here is the hesitation. You can see a common trend here that once you understand everything, it might seem like you don't have anything left to learn, but that shouldn't be the focus point. Once the fundamentals are down, your next step should be hesitating less and doing all the fundamentals much faster and without thinking. At this rank, you can always go up for an aerial faster. You can start to predict the opponent's play and move into a better position a bit faster. You can react faster. It's all about knowing what you need to do and becoming more confident in those actions. So, while on the surface, this player didn't really make too many mistakes, the key thing to take away is the speed of play and how you can speed up everything to push yourself out of Champ and into Grand Champ. Speaking of which, you're going to see what I mean about speed when we compare the mid ranks to our final 2 players. Looking at the Grand Champ, you can see the play is much faster. They are immediately up to challenge the ball in the air, they're much more confident in the air, they're using the walls to help out their teammate and to take a pass from their teammate, they're always trying to impact the play and keep the game moving. Mechanically, this is also a big step up. Not because all of a sudden they're doing double resets or anything, but because they're doing all the mechanics the champ can do, but better and faster. This is also the time in which they can start to get more creative in their plays and things like air dribble bumps come into effect. Grand Champ matches are where you start to see players really differ in playstyles, some being heavily mechanical and some being more game sense focused. As a champ player, moving to this rank, just focus on speed. Speed of play, speed around the pitch, maintaining speed, and thinking faster so you're able to react faster. But for you Grand Champ players looking to move up to SSL, there's a long way to go. Our SSL player shows that even though the mechanics improved a lot from Champ to Grand Champ, they go even further up to the SSL level, with everything looking effortless. The movement around the pitch on and off the ball is clean and simple, the boost pathing is accurate, recoveries are easy for these guys, everything just flows so naturally. One of the big things you notice in SSL games that doesn't get brought up often is that they understand their limits and what's possible to go for. They don't jump unless they need to, they don't commit unless they have a chance of winning the challenge. That might sound weird, but watch a few of your own games and notice how many times you challenge in a position you'll never win from. Almost every Grand Champ at this point knows what they need to work on to get better. But if you don't, I would say the easiest way to learn is to watch an SSL replay and just compare every aspect. Do you aerial as fast and as accurately as an SSL? Do you shoot with as much power? Do you move around the pitch as precisely? Are your recoveries as fast? Do you react as fast? Are you impacting the play as much? It's always the same deal. At this point in the game, it's all about consistency. So start with understanding what you need to work on to get to the next level, and then do what you can to get consistent in that aspect of the game. Sounds simple because it is simple, but in practice can take a lot of time. Big thank you to everyone who submitted footage for this video. We could not have done it without you. Big thank you to you guys for watching it all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time.